Hello and welcome to the Money Marketing Podcast. I'm Kimberly Dondo, Digital Content Manager, and we are back for our end of month podcast. And I'm joined by some of the illustrious editorial team. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves.
Hi, Lois Vallely, Chief Reporter, most illustrious.
Hi, Mohamed Musatwe, Senior Reporter.
Hi, I'm Darius McQuaid, reporter.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you guys for joining me. And May was a pretty good month, I think. It went by like a flash. But I wanted to kind of get into some of the things that you covered that stood out for you in May, whether that's in the mag or online, things that we published online, or anything that you got up to when you're in the streets. But Lois, did you want to get started? Because I know that you and Dan worked on the cover for May.
Yes, we did. I'm sad that it's the end of May because it's the end of my birthday.
That's the worst thing.
Aside from that, yes, Dan and I worked on the cover story. So it was all about the mental health of financial advisors. Because we noticed that there'd been a couple of studies published towards the end of last year and earlier this year, just about the impact that regulation is having on advisor mental health. So, for example, this company called Core Data Research published a report last September. And one of the things it said was that 35% of advisors say regulation is negatively impacting their mental health. So we did our own poll. And latest results, 186 people came back. And of those, 46% said, yes, regulation is affecting my mental health and I'm considering leaving the profession. So that's a pretty scary stat, I think. We wrote all about, so it is about regulation, obviously affecting advisors' mental health. But that isn't the only thing that's affecting their mental health. So somebody I spoke to for this feature made the point that it's probably more of the, I think Kim in our first podcast that was released earlier this week or last week when this comes out. I think we sort of covered this a bit, but I'll go into it again. So it's probably more of the sort of established advisors who've been advising for decades, have had to go through RDR, lots of other regulation and stuff, and now they're having to go through Consumer Duty. And they're sort of, well, they probably are used to filling out forms and things, but they're probably less used to it. And it's kind of putting them off. Obviously, that's a big generalization. It's not the same for everyone. Whereas some of the sort of newer advisors, maybe who have just come into the profession or have only been in for a couple of years, they're very used to doing all the regulatory stuff because obviously it's been what it's been like for them ever since they joined. But maybe what's affecting their mental health and what they might not necessarily have been prepared for through training and so on is how much conversations with clients can get really in depth. And, you know, clients will tell them things that they won't be telling their spouses or close family or friends. And it can have a big impact on advisors' mental health. It can come close to almost like therapy and they haven't all had training on how to deal with it. So we looked a bit into that, and I spoke to Chris Budd, who I speak to quite often, and he was suggesting that if conversations with clients get too personal and too deep, maybe advisors should know a couple of therapists or have things in place where they can signpost clients to where they can get proper sort of therapy help rather than just suffering alone. Mm-hmm. So it was those sort of two aspects. And then there's obviously other things that affect not just advisors' mental health, but everyone's like workload and so on. But those seem to be the two main things that came out of mine and Dan's research for this feature.
Yeah.
In terms of what we can do, I mean, like I said, I spoke to Chris Budd. I spoke to some other people as well, with suggestions on things that can be done. But aside from, well, if they follow through these ones who said thinking of leaving the profession, then that's not good because, you know, we already don't have enough advisors. So that'll create even more of an issue. There's not really sort of one answer, I suppose, but as long as
I just had an idea.
Oh, maybe Kim has an answer.
I feel like some innovative up and coming advisor should, when they want to go solo and create their own business, they should do like a one-stop shop. So like you said, you should be able to signpost therapy. You find like a really reputable, really good therapist who will work with you in your company. And you also have a lawyer on hand. And what other aspects of life might you, an accountant there as well. So just have like a one-stop shop where people come to you and they're like, I want
personal trainer,
a life coach. Everything that you need is all in this place, and you can upgrade your service depending on what your needs might be. Maybe you need the full package, the full fat package, which includes the therapist, the accountant, the legal team, the personal trainer.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea.
Yeah,
that would perhaps solve the whole deep conversation thing.
Because I don't know how to solve
the regulation thing, because the FCA is obviously not going to back off. But
well, I wonder, like in big companies, like the bigger lenders and any big financial services company, they have a compliance department, just a team full of people whose job it is to look at whether what they're doing is compliant. Like, we work with them all the time, and we get set back by the compliance team having to analyze every little thing that either we've written on their behalf or in my terms, when I'm doing podcasts, they'll have to listen and be like, ooh, I hope he didn't say anything that was not compliance worthy or whatever. So I don't know if that could be something that when you're training as a financial advisor, maybe if you're someone who's not necessarily someone who wants to be front facing, who wants to talk to clients all day, whether within a company you can have someone who would literally just sit there all day and look at regulation for all their clients. I don't know if that would be a solution.
It is the smaller firms, I think, that are struggling with this more, because obviously they don't really have the resources for an entire compliance department. And there are outsourced compliance providers, I believe, that exist. But it was a good feature to write. And an issue that we won't drop, I don't think.
No, I feel like mental health issues are prevalent with every profession, and probably more people need to be aware of them, because probably maybe in the past people were struggling with these things, but they just thought it's a part of this normal stress of life.
I did get a comment from somebody who I'm not going to name saying along the lines of, well, back in my day, we didn't really talk about mental health. Were we just tougher back then?
I don't know. I feel like maybe I don't know. I was going to say
not open that can of worms.
Yeah, that was a really good cover, and we did talk about it a little bit in our new series that we're starting, which I think at this point will just be monthly, because it's a lot. But yeah, definitely check out Talks. We did delve into that a bit more as well. But what else did you cover in May that you want to highlight, Lois?
So I wrote a lead column about the UK ISA, which some people call the British ISA, but that's not actually correct. And UK and Britain are not interchangeable, as I keep making the point. Anyway, my point in my
sorry, can I just ask, what is the exact difference in the UK and what is it?
The
UK includes Northern Ireland. Great Britain doesn't.
Okay.
That's literally.
Right. Okay, thank you.
And the British Isles is everything, including the Republic of Ireland.
Right. Okay. Right. Thank you.
But my feature, my leader, looked at the point I was making in my leader was, when it was in the spring budget, I think, when Rishi Sunak announced the UK ISA. And I just noticed all these things on, especially Twitter or X or whatever it's called, social media platforms, there were quite a few advisors that just leapt on those platforms and just knocked this ISA immediately.
Mm-hmm.
So my point wasn't the UK ISA is going to be amazing, you have to get on board with it. It was maybe don't just knock it immediately and potentially put off clients based on your own biases or hatred of government or whatever. Because if you're an independent financial advisor, you should be offering whole of market advice, and that includes UK ISA. So if your clients are quite keen to go for it, you shouldn't be going, oh, it's really stupid, without having, like, it hasn't even been consulted on yet. So we don't even have the details about what it's about. I think maybe the point of my leader was missed by a few who in the comments were then saying, well, it's really stupid idea. Why did the government even announce it? And then put in quite a lot of detail about why it's a stupid idea. But I even write in it, it might be a political bargaining chip. It might be a flop. It might never happen. It might not be a good idea. But maybe just don't put all your cards out on the table as soon as it's been announced when it hasn't even been consulted if you're an independent financial advisor. That was my only point. I wasn't saying, oh, the UK ISA is amazing, you have to get on board with it.
It's just another, I think from conversations I've had, people have just said, well, it's just another option. If you do have a client who has an extra 20K to throw in there, it's a no-brainer. 5K. 5K, sorry. And if you have a client who has an extra 5K to throw in there, it's a no-brainer. Like,
exactly.
What's the harm?
And I mean, somebody did make the point that it shouldn't be limited to the UK, and maybe like I can see that point, but the point is to get more investment in the UK.
But like,
and maybe it won't work. Maybe it's just a sort of thing that sounds good to people who voted for Brexit. I don't know, but
maybe it's because most UK companies aren't just UK companies; they're also international.
Yeah, exactly. And we don't know exactly what's going to be covered and stuff because the government hasn't released. Well, I think it's still consulting, or even if the consultation's closed, we still haven't got the details. So,
will it still be consulting if the election goes?
Oh, that's true. No, probably not.
Yeah.
So who knows what's going to happen with it anyway? But yeah, my only point in the article was maybe don't just knock something immediately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a fair point, I think. And Mamadou, for you, what stood out for you in May?
Well, I did a piece on influences, which is financial influences. The FCA, the Financial Conduct Authority. It's kind of like taking action against them. So they've updated their guidance on financial promotion on social media, and I think in a way that's a good thing, because there's so many people online, without any financial advice background.
Yeah.
Giving advice, telling people what to invest or what not to invest, and without highlighting, that there's a risk, to investment. You might lose your money.
Mm-hmm.
So the FCA decided to update it. Its guidance, to take into consideration this, new, aspects to financial promotion. Regarding the last guidance, when it was published, that was around 2012, when you had Twitter. So that was before TikTok and all this sort of stuff. So they wanted to bring it up to date, and the new guidance, it's making it clear for influencers that it's a criminal offense to give financial advice without an authorization from the FCA or from an authorized person or firm. So I think the FCA kind of like mean business.
Yeah.
And and the guidance was published in March, and this month, May, I think the FCA charged 9 people, including some TV stars who have applied some line or kind of like promoting some high risk products. So that was a good piece I did, I think, for the market.
Conversation always reminds me of, have you seen that trend on well, I assume it started on TikTok, but it's on Instagram as well, and it's like a video or a picture of a cat or a dog or something, and then it has a caption, I used to live on the streets and now I live in a 3-story house with 2 passive incomes, and 3 meals a day. Follow me for financial advice.
Exactly. And they
That's just a joke, obviously, but
but they make it sound so. I mean, they make it sound so easy. I mean, they just keep telling you all the gains, all the pros, without telling you, I mean, the cons and the disadvantages.
Yeah.
And they make it easy. I mean, I was this, and then suddenly I'm now rich. I can this. And then at the end they want to sell you a course. I mean, they want.
It's always selling a course, and I think it takes some people a long time to figure out that, oh wait, no, this person is able to afford this lifestyle, this alleged lifestyle, because you also don't know whether those people are renting the places that they're filming these things in, which most probably they are, and renting the cars that they allude to own. You just can't trust people, especially if at the end of it they're like, sign up for this free course, that will then lead you into falling into a trap of wanting to spend hundreds of pounds, if not thousands, of your own hard-earned money on a course that tells you things that you can probably find for free on the internet.
Exactly. And the whole issue of guidance and advice, and as I say, things are not made clear. I mean, it's all kind of get rich quick scheme. And as you say, they're in a very lavish, houses or something. And then that's the interesting bit, I mean, but they keep talking about I'm a millionaire, but at the end of the day, say, oh, sign up for the course for $29.99, and you're like, hang on, wow, I mean, a millionaire chasing.
I have to say though, I think it's slowed down a bit because I don't see as many of those ads or courses coming up on my algorithm, but maybe it's just because my algorithm knows that I'm not interested in any of that stuff.
Yeah, maybe that's why. Yeah, because there's a filtering going on. There's a filtering going on. So maybe you are sophisticated. But there are others. I mean, who have no clue. And then you have all this stuff coming through.
But I think also because I've seen other people who aren't necessarily a part of like organizations such as the FCA, they've started doing investigative stuff and being able to debunk and say this person's a scammer. So I think the more that you see stories like that, or you see YouTube videos of someone detailing how this person actually faked their whole life, faked the amount of money that they had and stole from people, I think seeing more of that might make you a bit more alert to any other potential ones that you come across. But because scammers are scammers, they're going to find a new way to scam.
No, indeed. And that's the point I was trying to raise. I mean, with my opinion piece, kind of like, I mean, the scale of social media, it's like, will the FCA be able, to regulate this giant? I mean, this mega.
Probably not.
And then the challenge will be those silos, when they have like their own private, group, where to access it. I mean, you have to be a member, so it's like what's going on behind those things.
Yeah.
So I was asking whether this new guidance, from the FCA, whether this is too little or too late, But at least they're taking action, At least they're taking action. And those 9 people, as I say, I mean, I think 7 of them or 5 of them are TV stars. So these are well-known people with millions of followers, And they were promoting high-risk products without even, warning. I mean, their fans or followers that we have been paid to promote this, and then this is a high-risk product, But they make it sound easy. Or if you do this, this will get you your money back within.
Which is weird. I don't know how they weren't, because I think there was something. I don't think it's the FCA who put this in place, but there is definitely a thing that all influencers have to put in ad when they're doing an ad. I think and you can get fined for that, but I don't know what body regulates that.
That's the ASA, I mean, the ASA, the Advertising Standard Agency, and they're also working with the FCA to be able to kind of like, take action. I mean, they're also getting, some influencers to join their side, at least, to be able to spread the message and advise their colleagues or others, about the pitfalls.
It's all a headache. I think me and Lois talked a little bit about it, and we're like, no matter what, I think the FCA is always just going to be playing catch up.
Oh no, big time.
Yeah, well, it always is, because it's such a big.
It is.
Like, it has to do so many consultations and then policy papers, and it's just not going to be able to move quick enough. These influencers just constantly updating and.
No, that's true. Yeah, but it's a big institution, so I mean, it's always catching up. And as you say, the internet is a wild west. It's huge, it's massive, and it's very hard to.
I stay on the safe side of the internet.
Yeah, to control.
And then on the weekends, I disengage and I go out in nature and take walks and go to the gym.
No,
I'm in my wholesome era.
And we've also written, extensively, on money marketing pages that the advisors also, or the financial advice sector also has to kind of up their game. Most of them are still doing, stuff in the old way,
But again, going back to what Lois was saying, there's quite a large contingent that are already dealing with a lot of having to deal with regulation, and also they're from a different time period where they didn't have to think about this whole social media thing. So it's all basically on the new kids on the block, not necessarily meaning that they're like kids, like they're young, but they could be, millennials, Gen X, whatever. But those new advisors coming in will have to come with a different approach in how they're going to market themselves and what they're willing to do to put themselves out there.
Well, yeah, and that's the point we're raising. Like they kind of like they have to open doors, for younger people that will bring fresh ideas, and tell them, there's a market here, there's demography here, and then be out there. As I say, most of us, I'm sure, came for you and Louise and other stuff. We stumbled into financial advice. I never knew there was a sector,
no,
like this until I came across it. So many people have no idea. And as I say, there's a test. People want information. People want to manage their money. People want to invest because of the rise of all this. D2C. So now, in the old days, you have to find a kind of like an investment, firm or manager. But now it's easy and accessible.
And you just do a few taps on my phone to transfer.
DIY.
And I've bought some stocks.
Exactly. But people need advice now. Exactly. Kind of like which stock to buy, because it's tough, So if you don't know, and people have been using money, but if you're a novice investors and you just go online and somebody says, oh, buy stock A or buy this, and the markets.
Like during the pandemic when everyone was buying AMC stocks.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think it's an interesting thing, and I think we'll be talking about it forever, because probably next, like me and Lois are saying, we'll be talking about AI finfluences. So we don't know where that's headed. But Darius, you've been quiet. Tell us about May. How was it for you?
I have. Yeah, no, it was an interesting month. I think one thing that stuck with me is I went to the Morningstar Investment Conference, and there was some really interesting conversations there. And one that's a theme that I haven't often written about at Money Marketing, it's coming now and again, but not too frequently, is financial advisor recruitment. And one of the discussions of the day, a financial plan director said, what keeps him awake at night is the recruitment of financial advisors, and he says that the client base is steady, but the actual recruitment of advisors is the sort of bigger issue. And sort of he questioned, can we service all the clients in front of us? Because you need to have a certain amount of advisors to deal with a certain amount of clients. I just thought it was quite interesting because, like I said, I don't often get to write about recruitment at Money Marketing, and because I used to be editor of a website called HR Review, and recruitment was one of the main themes there. So it was sort of interesting to write about that again. And also, during the panel, another co-founder of a financial planner business said, for him, the best recruitment has been internal, so has been referrals from his current advisors that would that'd be like a good news source for trying to get new advisors to join the firms. And he says he prefers this way from actually working with specific recruitment firms in the area.
When you say new advisors, are you talking about like people who aren't already certified, or are you talking about literally getting people into the profession?
No, this is about recruitment in general. So I imagine it wouldn't be. I wouldn't necessarily say new to the industry advisors. Also, when he said he bases his recruitment on referrals, I'm assuming that's because they've the advisor who works with him has already worked with the current advisor, and they're saying they know they're good at their job. So I imagine they're not at that point. They're definitely not new. So yeah, I imagine we're talking about an advisor with some experience, or who's already done the job for a certain amount of time. So yeah, I would say most likely probably not a complete newcomer to the industry. But yeah, no, I thought that was just sort of it was interesting to listen to, and a conversation that sort of stuck with me. I would say, and yeah, it's it was interesting, and also during the conference, someone else from Morningstar sort of said that the amount of advisors in the UK has sort of stagnated over recent years. So it's just this idea of this, the pool of recruiting advisors isn't necessarily getting any bigger, so it's gonna increase the competition of trying to recruit advisors for roles and so forth. So yeah, so it's going to get more intense unless there's a big influx to the industry.
Yeah, and that is why we launched Future Financial Advisor, to get fresh blood into the advice industry. So check out Future Financial Advisor if you have anyone that you know that might want to get trained up. There's a lot of resources there for those people.
Silky smooth, Kim. Well done.
Thank you. I'm really good at marketing. It's kind of my thing. But let's talk about June. I know that you loved May for obvious reasons, Lois, but I love June for similar reasons, because it is also my birthday month. And Mamadou's son's birthday month, because we share a birthday. How
Same
crazy.
Day. Exactly. June 16. And guess what?
It's Father's Day.
God bless you. Well done. Yeah. So a double celebration.
Your son will be getting you something, and
exactly, I'm getting something. So
you'll be getting him something, which sure probably means you'll be getting yourself something anyway, because he's too young to have. Apart from that, June will be a great month. I guess we'll be seeing a lot of news related to the upcoming election and whatever campaign things that they try to throw out there to try and get those voters. I think Mamadou wrote something about Rishi Sunak doing something with the triple lock in order to get to get those grey voters. Exactly. So I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot more of that, of them trying to lure people over to either side. I don't know if I've seen much of Labour saying anything. But again, I guess they're just gearing up. They have a month roughly to campaign, which is not very long if you think about it.
No, it'll fly by.
Yeah.
And then it's like this is almost in the bag for Labour, I mean, when the polls, kind of like been extended. So
yeah,
perhaps that's why they're playing it safe, go easy in terms of your campaigning, say the right thing, do the right thing, and
yeah, they're probably they're like, we don't need to do anything. Exactly. They've done the work for us.
Yeah, and then because I mean the Tories are kind of like doing what you call self-destruct, I mean, they have all this infighting, defection. So just make it easy for you. Just make it easy.
Oh, boy. What is politics? But like I said, maybe it's always been this way, but we're just far too aware of it, with the ability to see so much on our phones, online. more than ever before. So maybe, I don't know, maybe in the 1960s it was exactly the same. But we just didn't know because no one was publishing it in the newspaper. They were keeping it hush hush, or there was no one filming anything. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's a good point, maybe.
But in terms of financial advice, is there anything you want to shout about for June, Lois?
Yes. Well, so in May 1st, the one of the big stories that we covered was that Aberdeen's CEO is leaving after 4 years, I think, at the helm. So I doubt it'll be announced in June who the new CEO is, but it'll definitely be something to keep an eye on. Obviously, I think the point's been made that Stephen Bird, the CEO of Aberdeen, has had a fairly difficult tenure at Aberdeen. And I know that in their last report, they made a loss. And I know their share price has gone down quite significantly, and they have been kicked out of the FTSE 100 a couple of times. I think they're in the FTSE 250 now. So we'll see if the new CEO can turn the company around or if it'll get split up. Who knows? But for June, for the print issue, I have been working on a feature about whether there's a future for in-person advice or whether all advice is going to go onto video calls in the future. Because obviously, so I start off the feature talking about, and it probably ages me a bit, but when I was at uni, Skype was like Skype
huge.
Video calls were a novelty. And I used to, I think it got taken out of the feature in editing, but I said, because obviously I used to call my parents and write to my sisters and stuff. But what I really liked was the odd video call where I could see our lovely family dog, Ginny. Because obviously I couldn't talk to her on the phone. So it was a novelty. But then obviously when COVID hit, everyone was doing video calls because that was the only way you could socialize with people or do work meetings or whatever. And then since then, obviously people are meeting up in person again. And so some of the advisors, I've spoke to quite a few advisors for the feature that I was working on. And I think the consensus is that certainly in the shorter term, as in 20, 30 years, there will still be a place for in-person advice, as in face-to-face in the same room. But it's a good idea to offer your clients both options, because obviously some clients are going to want to just jump on a video call. But this is something I agree with, meeting like in person in a cafe, or if it's a client meeting like in your office or at their house or whatever, it's going to be a lot easier to build rapport with clients that way, especially if you're just meeting them for the first time or you don't know them that well. And then further in the future, 50 years or whatever, who knows what's going to happen. Maybe we'll all be living in the metaverse, but certainly in this shorter to medium term, we all agree that there will be a place for in-person advice.
In-person thing, I think I have been one of those people who's become very comfortable with being behind a screen. So sometimes when I am asked out to coffee or lunch, I'm like, this could be a Teams call. Why are you calling me all the way down to London?
But it could also be free coffee or free food.
Yeah, but Lois, it's not free. Monetarily, it's free. It's not free in terms of my time. So I think now I'm very much like attuned to how expensive my time is. So I kind of pick and choose on whether I want to make the trek out to London, and I go, this will be how many hours traveling there, but if we're just having a conversation about possible stories to cover or podcasts to do, this could just genuinely be an email or a Teams call. But if it is something like an introductory thing that's as important as, my financial future, I think I would go and do it in person, because I think body language is really important to be able to tell whether you mesh well with that person. And I think when it comes to financial advice, it's not just necessarily whether the person is good at their job. They might be amazing at their job, but if you do not mesh well,
definitely. If you clash or even just don't, there are just people that you just don't
get along with
as well.
Yeah. So how are you meant to trust that person looking after your finances if you don't think that your morals or whatever aligns?
Exactly. That is a point that was made. Somebody I spoke to was like, will you form an impression of someone within the first few seconds? And it may be the wrong impression. Usually first impressions are pretty accurate, especially when it comes to whether you're going to get on with someone. But even just by the way they walk or whatever, and come up and shake your hand or say hi, whatever it is, it's very different if you're just popping up on a screen on video and you're just there, just down to your shoulders. So I personally prefer meeting in person. That might be because I know my job role is slightly different from yours, Kim. So meeting contacts and making quite good friends with them is quite useful to my. I mean, sorry, all those that I've made friends with in the industry. Obviously, I like you as people as well, but I'm not.
She's using you though.
But it's mutual. Useful to me. Exactly. And then someone pointed out the irony of speaking about the value of in-person meetings on Teams, because I did all my interviews for this feature on Teams or on the phone, but also I knew most of them already, so it was fine.
No, I feel like conferences, things like that are very important, but maybe I just lived quite far away, so maybe that's a deterrent on my end.
I do live in London, so that there is a difference there.
But Darius, what about you? What are you excited for in June?
I'm excited for. I wrote the Emma Meets, and
that's exciting.
I was excited for that to hit the shelves.
Who was the Emma Meets with?
It was with Ed Diamond, the CEO of Benchmark. It was an interesting talk. I like the doing Emma Meets because you get to know a bit more about the person and what sort of led them up to this point. Ed definitely is a nice guy, and it was an interesting conversation. I'm looking forward to seeing that, and I'll be in the photos as well, which was a nice touch. So I'm sure I can somehow use that. So I'm looking forward to seeing that in the magazine.
Yeah, and the leader, what was the leader on? Just give it a little sneak preview.
The leader was about the head versus heart debate, or like emotion v logic when it comes to investments.
Oh, sometimes I follow my gut. Does that throw your whole argument out?
No. That was gut instinct is a thing I cover, so no, it doesn't torpedo the argument. No, that was
my gut instinct during the pandemic told me to buy stocks in Greggs.
And did that pay off?
Don't talk. It's not. Mama do. It's a long-term investment, Darius. Leave me alone.
Well, okay, fine. So I'm assuming, fine, whatever. we got the answer.
Not right now, but again, it's a long-term investment. You're not meant to. I talked to, I think it was Mike Coop from Morningstar, and he literally was like, when you do make investments, the reason why it's great to have like an advisor who looks over your portfolio for you is that you don't look at it all the time. You might have access to it, but you don't look at it all the time. They're the ones who are looking at it on a more regular basis. Whereas if you're doing it yourself as like a consumer investor, then you might be tempted to keep looking every single day, and that's just not how it works. So I said, saying like I actually kind of don't go on my trading app anymore. I just get like my monthly emails that tell me how my stocks and shares are doing. And then I'll go, okay. And that's it. It's not something that I'm like, oh no, I'm down. It could, because then you might have the knee-jerk reaction to sell, and because these things are cyclical.
In COVID, when the COVID pandemic hit, my gut instinct was to sell my inherited Lloyd shares, which had halved in value. And luckily, I ignored my gut instinct because that would have just been stupid.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the market always corrects itself. That's why one has to be patient. If it's down, just hang in there. Hang in there.
And sometimes I'm just like, that's not even my money. Like, that's future money, or exactly. I don't need it. I don't have it right now.
Yeah, it's fine. Exactly. Just sort of down. It will get
And Momadou, finally, for you, apart from being excited for Father's Day and your son's birthday, what else is there to look forward to in June?
Well, the platform markets. I think things are getting back to where things were. I think Fundscape publisher reports. I think this week or last week, saying that the platform, market has kind of like bounced back from previous year. So the first quarter, this year, the platform assets hit the 1 trillion mark. That's a huge milestone. And then also looking for acquisition. When the platform's facing. So I think there's the M&G Wealth.
Yeah.
We're keeping an eye on, even which of the, big platforms, might want to buy it. People are saying Seco, Fidelity, Time. We have no idea. So that's something to kind of like keep an eye on.
Keep an eye on, yeah, for sure. Yeah, this is all exciting stuff, and I am excited for June and to see what unfolds. And I'll be back to talk to the rest of the editorial team. But I'm so glad that you guys joined me on this episode. Thank you for talking with me, and I hope you guys have a fantastic June.
Thank you.
And you too, Kim.
You too, Kim. Thank you very much for having us.